Hello everyone and welcome. Today I would love to talk to you about forgiveness. About releasing that suffering when we find we can't forgive. It's so important for us to go through that pain and allow yourself that while you're going through that pain, I know there might be lots of anger on your mind, lots of hatred, and you could be saying, how dare they, how could they do that? But if you don't release that suffering through forgiveness, you will, continue to carry that weight on your shoulders. You will continue to have those chains around you. So in releasing the suffering, you must forgive. And I would say you must. And I know many of you will say, no way. No way. There's no such thing as I must. But you need to. You need to for yourself. And in a sense, you need to allow that suffering out. Whether it is that you write about it, or you stand in front of a mirror, or you're talking with your friends and you're allowing all that suffering just to pour out of you. But sometimes that doesn't work, because in the end, we have to, face those that caused our suffering. We have to tell them you forgive them, and that you forgive them with love. Because in doing that, it takes that weight off your shoulders. Those chains become loose and fall away. And you will find that you are a much happier person, more contented. It doesn't mean that you have forgotten what had happened. It just means you have forgiven someone else for causing your suffering. And in a sense, you have forgiven yourself. And you have allowed all that anger and hate towards that person or persons. It could be, anything that is happening in the world that has caused you suffering. And one thing to remember is that your guardian angel is right there with you and is helping you through this. And I would say to you, ask your guardian angel to help you to forgive, because sometimes it takes us time to forgive, because we have to acknowledge the pain and the hurt we have gone through. But in forgiving helps you to become stronger physically and even mentally. Become stronger within yourself, because you have freed yourself in that way. And I know it is so hard for us at many times to forgive. And I remember hearing from this person who had suffered hugely during a war. He was tortured for months and years and everything like that. And then the war came to an end. And he decided when he got back home, when he recovered, when he was well enough, to release the burden that was on him of this horrific torture, physically and mentally, torture and emotionally that he had gone through. And he decided to face those that caused this and tell them, I forgive you, I love you. And I thought that was just so courageous of someone to be able to do that. And the thing is, it's very courageous and absolutely wonderful if you can do it as well. No matter how big that hurt is or how small it is, it's to forgive so you release that suffering that is, how would I say, still causing suffering on your human body, suffering within your mind mentally as well. There is so much in forgiving and releasing it, and knowing that you're not alone, your guardian angel is there. And again, I would always say, whatever way you have suffered, and I know there is, I would never compare someone's suffering as greater than someone else's, because our suffering, in a sense, and needing to forgive is enormous to each individual. But we need to let it go. We need to, in a sense, to forgive what happened, whether it was, that caused your suffering was something that, the law did, or your government did, or the community did, or your family did, that caused you tremendous suffering, or a stranger did to you. And maybe you could never find that stranger that did make you suffer so much physically and mentally. You can always still forgive them, and say to yourself that if I ever do meet them, I will tell them I forgive them and love them. And I know it's hard, because many people would say to me, how can I forgive when they have done something so horrific to my son or my daughter? Or how can I forgive the enemy in the world during war? But yet the other person is saying the same. How can I forgive the enemy in the world? And that means you and me. But we all have to, in a sense, do our best to forgive. I know it's not easy, just to release that suffering, just to let it go and allow yourself to love you more, and feel physically, allow yourself to start to feel physically good. I would meet many people who would say, they found it really hard to forgive. The idea of forgiving was, as far as they were concerned, was out of the question. And when a time came in their life and they decided to forgive, or maybe they watched this video and they said, I'm going to forgive, they would tell me that it changed their life. They became a different person, not a person full of anger and hate, not a person that would criticize enormously of what others are doing. Because they said they realize in forgiving themselves and forgiving those or one person that caused their suffering, they realize that everyone out there in the world, that's you and me, all of us, there is times in our lives when we need to release that suffering, bring it to an end, and forgive. Forgive ourselves and forgive who or whatever caused your suffering, and fight for life. Enjoy life, love life. Take that burden from you and just know that your guardian angel is right there. And I bet you anything, even souls of loved ones are around you, helping you to get through this suffering that you have gone through, and they're helping you to release it. But you have to remember, your guardian angel or even the souls of loved ones can't do it. You have to. And that's the hardest part. And I always find when someone has suffered in some way, you do need to talk. You need to talk, to allow it out, to hear it. You need to express it. And sometimes we cut off so many friends because, how would I say, we're blaming them, or they did nothing, or we cut ourselves away from family, or in a sense we have this thing that everything is happening in the world is, is all negative, or it's not true. They don't know what's happening. You condemn everything, and you, in a sense, complain about everything. But I know if you release that suffering, whatever way it was with you, and ask your guardian angel to help you, you will be filled with love. It'll be so much so that it's like, oh boy, I'm only starting to live life now. I'm only starting to feel joy. And real joy, I'm not pretending. I'm not pretending everything is okay. But forgiving and releasing that suffering and pain, it doesn't mean you forget, but it no longer causes you suffering and pain. It's, in a sense, it's over, but you know it happened. And I think that is just something very important for all of us out there, and even for a child that has been, maybe somebody in school has said something negative to them, or criticised and laughed at a painting, let's say, or a drawing they did. And that goes for the adult as well, to say to yourself, well, it's my painting, it's my drawing, and you have no reason to condemn it or run it down, but I forgive you for that. That's okay. I love you. But when you say those words, you must mean them, because it won't, if you don't mean them, you're not releasing that suffering that is within you. And I know we all need to do it, because at different times of our lives, suffering is going to happen. It is life. It is, in a sense, the human part of us. But we can all grow spiritually and connect to our guardian angel and our soul, and be able to forgive. Not forget, but be able to forgive, so that you no longer have to suffer. You have released that suffering from your human body and your mind, mentally, in every single way. And I just want to say, God bless and I love you. Bye-bye.